Virgo Sun. Virgo are our people born between August 23rd and September 22nd. So this is around the time of the fall equinox. Moving into Libra, you've got right after the fall equinox. Now with Virgo, Virgos are our devoted, earthy sun signs. Virgo's ruled by Mercury. That's our planet, the little planet Mercury that orbits around the sun in about 88 days to create 1 year for Mercury. This gives our Virgos and our Geminis a quickness of mind or a nervousness. It plays out a little bit differently in Gemini and Virgo. In Virgo, through Earth, through this mutable Earth, you see an individual who is analytical. They appreciate categorizing things. They appreciate doing things a particular way. They like systems, planning, analyzing, etc. That's quite Virgo. Virgo is kind of misunderstood too. The symbol is the Virgin. And to me, I like to think of the Vestal Virgins and this idea of this sacred purity. And you can see that applied metaphorically in the way that they mentally process things. They're seeking for a perfect system, a perfect order and way of doing things. So they are seeking this idealistic version of whatever it is they're interested in, whether it's from something as simple as organizing a toolbox to a Virgo who's interested in astrology, for example, who likes to learn about the categorizing. There are a lot of Virgo astrologers or astrologers who have a touch of Virgo on perhaps their Mercury. It's that interest in understanding how a system or a language or symbols, how these things all work and how they explain a deeper process or a deeper, more complex system. So a high-functioning Virgo, you've got someone who is helpful, they're dependable. They many times operate in a, Virgo energy is an introverted expression of energy, okay? So many times they're comfortable in a role where they're serving someone else, whether it's through being an assistant or whether it's through perhaps just being in the background or in a career where they're in a role where they're observing and analyzing from the sidelines. Now in relationships, this can come out sometimes, we'll talk about this in the low-functioning part, but it can come out as criticism. They can be critical, but on the high side, back to the high side, they're devoted. You've got authentic, genuine people. You've got someone who's got a good eye for detail. They're good at again, analyzing something, breaking it down, making it kind of make logical sense. They like to be in the world of the here and now. There's a practicality and a sensibility to Virgo where they appreciate showing up to appointments on time. They appreciate, sort of doing their duty, like doing the things that they say they'll do. There can be kind of a Boy Scoutish vibe to a male Virgo. I know quite a few actually that have kind of that like do-gooder vibe to them. They've got, like I said, this dutifulness and there's a responsibility there. And they don't have as much of a need for the ego. It's not they're not going to be directly motivated for ego strokes. So much as they're going to do things out of a place of it's just like the right thing to do and they can't not do it that way. And they will appreciate someone who gives them ego strokes. Look at their moon too. You got anything fiery on the moon or earthy, they're going to be someone who really would like to get some little pats back. Now, also Virgo is also quite hardworking. Kind of goes to being dutiful and responsible, but the sixth house, which is the Virgo house, has to do with our daily habits and sort of consistent patterns and the in and out of the minutia of life. And so Virgo is comfortable in the role of taking care of business, getting things done that maybe other people don't want to take care of. On the low side, so low functioning Virgo, you'll have someone that can be overly critical. I know quite a few Virgo females, and this is not, by the way, these are people that are some of my favorite people in the world, right? But Virgo females in particular can be kind of pessimistic because there's a realism there where they can sort of see it and they've seen the patterns, they've seen people's behavior and they've seen what happens when this happens, They kind of get like to this place where they become a little disillusioned because a Virgo, they'll show up, they do the stuff that it is that they say that they're going to do, right? They come on time, they, keep their appointments, they, go run to the grocery store and don't forget to pick up the ice for you, that kind of thing. That's Virgo. So when you don't show up or when the world in general they get screwed sometimes, like we all do, they become a little disheartened and disillusioned by the whole thing. So they can be a little pessimistic and a little anxious as well. Anxiety is a big thing for anyone who has strong Virgo. I have a Virgo Mercury and Virgo Venus in the first house, and I know anxiety. It's because it's like they run at a higher speed than a lot of other people, even mentally, because this is Mercury, which to me is a mercurial a planet. It has to do with the mind. There is a nervousness. A lot of, like, if I was to think of the stereotypical Virgo, they would be quite thin because they're busy, and there's a nervousness there, and there's a anxiousness that's there. So sometimes can have issues of insomnia, things like that. They have high standards. Now, Virgos are idealistic, just like Pisces. To me, this is like this axis of service, and it's this idealistic, value-driven axis. So they appreciate they have a hierarchy in their mind of how things should sort of operate. And so they'll appreciate when they'll want things to be up here. And they'll also kind of realize that to have things up here is going to be really difficult. Like, they know that they're perfectionists. There's quite a realistic, that's almost, I think, their strength and their weakness, right? Like, they can really see themselves a lot of times. They can see all their shit. And so they sort of feel bothered by that because they personally aren't able to hit their own, standard of what they think is ideal. And so they can project it onto other people or relationships, or just assume everyone else we're all a bunch of screw-ups as well, kind of a thing. So they also can be martyrs sometimes. You got this with both Pisces and Virgo, this axis. Anyone who has these zodiac signs strongly noted in their chart. Because, again, it's this ability to give and give and give and give, because it's kind of just, they operate better in the place of taking care of something else behind the scenes, taking care of someone else's problem and fixing it, rather than maybe receiving care from someone, like someone taking care of them. That will make them a little uncomfortable, because that means that they're failing at whatever it is that person has to take care of for them. Remember, they're Virgo and they want to do things to this level. It's like an ideal, and that means that they're not. So they're like, oh, I'm a big loser because you're taking care of me. This is really uncomfortable for me. Even like gift giving, a lot of times Virgos are, again, look at their moon, all the other thing, they're Venus, but a lot of times gift giving, receiving gifts can be a little awkward for Virgo, or they can be someone that you're like, I'm not really sure what to get for that person exactly, but ultimately they'll enjoy it. So gifts. But Virgo in love. So because you've got a person who has these, pretty high standards, this applies to their love life as well. And when they fell in love, they have thoroughly sort of analyzed the partner first. Now, I've got a friend who has has an Aries moon, and she's a Virgo. And she's quite spontaneous in love, and she's married now, but when she's dating, she's the kind of person who's very fun and would very much that Aries moon, independent spirit, want to do what she wanted to do. But then after she was sort of seeing someone, then her Virgo analytical nature would kind of set in, and she would sort of analyze things and look at them from both sides and be like, like this doesn't feel right, or this, so sort of after the fact, it was like this Virgo in hindsight, rearview mirror Virgo thing happening. But they have this idealistic thing that they're looking for. A hard thing for an idealist is you might have to just come to the realization that there really isn't an ideal. I mean, there is in your head, but as soon as you make something move from the mental space to the physical space in the form of another human, good luck. Like, it's going to be a daily for Virgo. It's got to be a daily recommitment to this other human being, and that recognizing that they're not going to meet the Virgo standards, just as the Virgo doesn't meet their own standards, and that's okay. So sometimes Virgo, with this, they can be the high standards. They can also, though, it's really interesting, they have high standards, but then they'll also kind of stick around. So they can be a little sort of passive-aggressive or codependent even. I mean, I use those terms very cautiously. I don't mean that Virgos are codependent or that Virgos are passive-aggressive. I'm saying think of what that sort of looks like when someone's codependent, when they want to support another person or take care of someone else's needs and keep another person sort of in a place of like addiction or like in a place of weakness so they feel needed. That can happen with Virgo, okay? And so you can sometimes see Virgo Pisces types get with like these narcissistic types, which would be more your Arian, Capricorn, Leo-ish type individuals, okay? So with a Virgo, you have got this devoted partner. The Virgo in love is devoted. Their devotion just it's not the Piscean devotion, which would be this merging spiritual oneness thing. It is more like the Vestal Virgin, worshiping the object of their love. They are sacrificing their carnal desires, to perhaps be with other people, to devote themselves to the one they love. Okay, so think of it as almost a religious experience, because the Virgo sort of symbolizes, it's the virgin, it's the human here on earth looking up to the divine, and Pisces on the opposite end is just that merge of the divine and the earthly. Okay, so Virgos in love, they need that devotion in their partnership. A lot of times Virgo males will put females up on the pedestal, and you're going to fall off, you're going to jump off, or you're going to get pushed off when you're on a pedestal. So being on a pedestal is not comfortable. So Virgo men, don't do that. There's a certain level of devotion that should happen. And when I say devotion, it's like this religious devotion. There's a certain amount that should happen in any relationship, but it should go in both directions. Okay. Okay. Oh, and also, so the thing with Virgo is they are looking for the one. This is again sort of this religious experience in a sense. It's this worship of the partner in a sense. So once they found that person, they're quite loyal, and they don't have a desire to stray off. They want to be, with their partner. So here you go. Here's the problem. You got someone who has high standards in love. They have high standards for themselves, but also for their love match, their partnership, and on their partner themselves. Of course, with that, you're going to be disappointed because people are losers sometimes, right? We are all assholes at times. We all do things contrary to how we would like to do them or how we intend on doing them. We don't show up, or we just let our partner down. So Virgos get disappointed at times. So their expectations in love are kind of, in a sense, it's funny. It's like they sort of have these high standards, these ideals, but they like no, because they're so practical. They're so damn practical. They're like, you're not going to be able to meet my ideal, my standards. So it's kind of, can almost turn into like a pessimism, like, oh well, it's not going to be what I want it to be, and so they can just not go all the way in, even sometimes, or hold back and still hold on to this little idea, this ideal love that exists somewhere out there in the ethers that they'll never get to. All right. Because also when they do really love you and they have that devotion to their partner, they get disappointed. They're let down many times by their partner, right? They realize, I love you fiercely, but you might not be able to do it in return. Okay. And so self-sacrifice, if you can do things for them where you're sacrificing something that matters to you for the Virgo partner, that will be something that really means a lot to them. Showing up for them, being a backbone, being like a strong, united force. They do want to look up to their partner. And if you let them down, they sort of become disillusioned and they lose a little bit of respect for you. So you have to, show up for them as best you can. And a Virgo will give you this sense that you want to be a better person. You want to be in a better place than you are right now. You want to live up to these standards that are actually really quite beautiful. They're ideals of what true, blossoming, divine romantic love looks like. Okay. Virgo's biggest fear. So yeah, Virgo, if we're thinking of this archetype of the virgin, I always think of sort of this religious virgin. It makes me think of nuns or the Vestal virgins, whatever. That means the partner is God. The partner is divinity. It's the divine. Virgo is learning how to access the divine or the oneness, the same oneness that Pisces is all about on the opposite end. But they're learning how to do it from this place of object, subject, or like this place of they are this worshiper and the partner is the divinity. Now, this is you need to think about this in kind of a big abstract way, okay? But they'll serve the partner. They'll defer to the partner's needs many times, Virgo, especially Virgo females. But at the same time, their worry, their fear is that their partner won't be able to love them in return in the same way. So, you can have a dark Virgo, someone who is pretending to worship the partner and very charming and saying all the right things, but on the inside is not really going all the way in because they've lost kind of hope that anyone else can match where they're going to go anyway. So what difference does it make? So that can happen. So keep that Virgo feeling like they are your beautiful ideal of what love is, and that their devotion does not go unnoticed, and that you shine your light on them, so to speak. Scorpio. Scorpio, these are our sun signs born from October 23rd through November 21st. Now, I love Scorpio. Probably, I have my moon in the 8th house, the Scorpio house. So you have to bear with me. This is super self-indulgent, I guess. We have got our most intense, some would say intense, possibly secretive, deeper expressions of any of the sun signs when we have a Scorpio in our midst. There is an undercurrent with Scorp. This is a scorpion. I like to think of this as the other traditional symbols applied to Scorpio would be phoenix, the eagle, the snake, because these all have to do with regeneration, death, and rebirth. The Scorpio, in my mind, has a very strong, dark feminine energy, meaning we were all at one point in time in a womb. That would have been a dark, wet place inside of a female, the feminine. And it's a place that was unconscious, that we don't remember. We were expelled from that place through a process that was probably painful, I would imagine, getting your head squeezed or squeezed? Yeah, squeezed. I was going to say squeezed. Squeezed through the birth canal, right? That cannot be pleasant. And you're this little soft, little thing, and you're helpless. So that's the dark feminine. Now, our mothers that give us life also give us death. Because to be born means you're here mortally, and you will die. So your mother gave you the gift of life and the gift of death. That's the dark feminine. That's Scorpio energy. Scorpio has to do with life and death. All of our big, big, big life lessons come through the life and death processes that we experience as humans. Everything from when you leave home to go to kindergarten as a 5-year-old, that part of your life dies and this new part is reborn. Scorpio and Pluto. Pluto rules Scorpio, and traditionally Mars also rules Scorpio. So I always look at both in the birth chart, placements of both Mars and Pluto to help inform the sun. That's for another video. But these are both strong masculine energies. Mars is, the warrior, and it's passion, and it's fight, and it's aggression. And Pluto is also similar. It's also a sort of aggression in that it's like the explosion. It's the death and rebirth of something through a process that destroys something to give birth to something else. It's almost, to me, Pluto's really actually, even though it's traditionally a male god, it to me is female. It's the dark feminine. It's Pluto, the god of the underworld. Hello, that's about as feminine as you get. So, anyway, so Scorpio types. I don't want to get in too deep on this. Scorpio types are intense. They have an intensity to them. In a personality, it comes out through this understanding that the partner, it can almost be an ethereal. Partnership can be this ethereal thing where the partner could just disappear and the partnership dies, and they have to be faced with the mourning process of the death of this relationship. So this can make them quite possessive or jealous or paranoid, or they'll really pay attention to the things their partner's doing because they're looking for these little signs, waiting for the other shoe to drop, kind of a deal, right? Now, Scorpio also is traditionally thought of as ruling sex. It's like, oh, Scorpios are so sexy. They're sexed up, sex, sex, sex. All is any sun sign. We're human beings. It's one of our primal urges. We have a limbic system, so we desire sexual contact and emotional sexual contact and bonding and this kind of thing with our partners. So, of course, Scorpio does as well. It's how it's approached. So Scorpio, sexuality is a place for Scorpio where many times Scorpio energy is expressed through sexuality, because sex is a place where we see a perfect metaphor for life. So I always say 8th house is like this. You've got when we're born, you are one with the mother, right, in the womb. And then you're born, and then you got the mom and you got you. The individual, you take your first breath when you separate from the mother and you become a duality. It's you and the mother, all right? And then you have life, death, that rhythm, and then you die one day and are buried, cremated, whatever, okay? Your spirit ascends and goes elsewhere, in my mind. Now, with sex, you have, instead of having the one, you have the two come together to make the one. So you've got the duality coming together to make the singular, the unity, the one. And in this process, you have two people come together, they kiss, they share the breath of life with one another. Just like when you are born, you have to take that first breath alone. Sexuality is about coming back together to the oneness and sharing it with another person. That's Scorpio. That's 8th house. 8th house is all about sharing these intense bonds and contracts we have with other people. And this includes in business. This is why 8th house has to do with like loans and, money, child support, it's agreements and contracts that have been made that involve the exchange of resources, okay? Okay, so that's Scorpio. So a high functioning Scorpio, you've got someone who is focused, driven, determined. There is a strong, that Martian energy, which is quite masculine, it's the masculine energy, combined with the Plutonian energy, which is this ability to transform situations. They can see the psychological underpinnings in relationships between people, like in business. They can see patterns. They can know. And they have a very strong intuition where they just kind of know the way and the direction things are going to run. So they stick with that. But they're also they're good at keeping secrets, and they're good at keeping confidences with other humans. And they'll use that many times. I mean, they understand psychology, so they're good. They're good. We'll talk about this in a second. They can be manipulative. That's what I'm trying to say. But they really desire, what they desire is intimacy with their partner. They desire closeness. They desire that bond that is unbreakable, like a to the death bond. That's what they really want. So they can be kind of intense, and they can focus all of their energy on one person. That's quite Scorp. A lot of times Scorpios, they'll be in situations with unrequited love, because when they fall in love, they really fall in love, and they're sort of stuck there. Until someone else, I suppose, comes along, but they'll still harbor that, okay? So, and also they're very sensually expressive. They are good lovers. I mean, they are comfortable going places that are quite kinky that other people maybe aren't comfortable going into. Again, look at their moon and look at their Venus. That's going to tell you emotionally how they feel about that. But because a Scorpio is interested, as most of the water signs are, they're interested in pleasing the partner, they'll roll. Functioning Scorpio. Traditionally, Scorpios are known as being jealous. It's always, oh, Scorps are jealous, they're possessive, they're, yada, yada, yada. Yes, they are. But let's talk about why they are. Like we said earlier, Scorpio is dealing with this deep understanding, this deep sort of unconscious knowing that once something's been born, including a relationship, it will one day die. Knowing this on a really deep level, they carry that with them. So in relationships, many times, that is what drives or can fuel perhaps jealousy or worry. It's more of a worry, I feel like, and then it turns into jealousy, and it turns into like anger, because it starts as a knowing, moves to a worry. So it starts in here, feeling, moves up into the brain. They're knowing something, and then it comes back down to here, knowing it and worrying. They'll worry, ruminate about it, and then it comes back down to here, and then they're mad, they're angry. And that's when you see jealousy, okay? Because Scorps are pattern watchers. They're noticing. They notice, and they don't even know they're noticing because they're ninjas, like they're ninja noticers, and then it will come out later in an eruption of jealousy, or them going through stalking your Facebook or something, stuff like that. It's also Scorpio moon, also someone who's got the moon in the 8th house. These things can happen. So or someone who's got Pluto conjunct the sun or the moon, they'll also have these similar characteristics. So they're intense emotionally. They can be temperamental. They can be. All the water signs can be kind of passive-aggressive. Scorp's less likely to be passive-aggressive unless it's someone they really love and they don't want to hurt the relationship. And so they're in this double bind where they want to say something like they normally would in a business situation. Normally they're very quite aggressive, but in an interpersonal situation, they're sensitive to the partner, but then they're also mad at themselves for not saying something. They get resentful, and then it becomes this passive-aggressive or silent treatment thing or control thing where they're trying to control the partner. So it can get a little messy. And the biggest issue the Scorpios have, all Scorps, they are so determined and focused on something, which is great, but they need to know when to let go and to stop, okay? I've got my second daughter, third child, she's Scorpio, and very Scorpio, and Libra everything else. Like all of her personal planets Libra, but Scorpio Sun. And she is very loving, but man, when she has her mindset on something, it's really hard to explain to her logically that no, you can't have that bag of popsicles right now. And she will sit and talk with you and try and convince you for 30 minutes that she should have that bag of popsicles. That's Scorpio, okay? That's also Scorpio mixed with Libra. But she doesn't do it my other daughter's Libra with all Scorp, and that energy is very different. She's also very determined, but she candy coats it. The Scorpio Sun is going to candy coat it. They're going to care a lot about their interpersonal relationships with that, a lot of Libra stuff, but the Scorpio on the outside makes them more aggressive and more, you know, like in your face with it, okay, and not quitting. They're like a pit bull. They don't let go. Even a really sweet Scorpio, when they want something, they're very determined, okay? So Scorpio in love, as we've been discussing, they're intense and focused. This definitely applies to their love relationships. They can be obsessive. They can, many times, this is common with the Scorpio, when they fall for someone, they can have this unrequited love thing I was talking about. They fall really deeply very quickly. Actually, not quickly. No, they fall very deeply, and it's something that really hits them in the middle, and they may sense that they know something, that this is someone that's meant to be with them, that sort of thing. And they've got to be careful that what they're thinking that they're knowing, that it's not actually something else that's subconsciously brewing inside of them. Perhaps this person that they're falling for so deeply, who's not requiting the affection, perhaps this person simply holds energy or behaves in a way that reflects their own inner whatever part of them that they feel like this person reflects, right? So you'd have a Scorpio that's more shy, who's attracted to someone who's really confident and bold, and I'm using a very simplistic comparison, but you know, so many times the Scorpios need to ask themselves, if the person's not requiting the feelings, what is it about this person that they carry that I lack, okay? And that can give you some insight in love. But that being said, side note, Scorpios in love, they have an intense sense that they should be in this partnership. If they're going to be in a partnership, they need to feel like this is meant to be, okay? Because there's a fated quality. There's this, it needs to have the sense that it's this contract they've made with one another and they're meant to be together. Also, very important to note, Scorpios, they are extreme. They want it all or they want nothing. They have a really hard time with the gray area in between. They'll walk it for a while if they love someone, but they're going to be really at least on the inside, pissed off that they're having to operate in this place where they're in this gray area that's meaningless to them. They want either all of it or none of it. Like, what's this gray area? What is this? This is not even anything. It's fake, okay? They're authentic to the extreme, all right? Scorpio expectations of love. Let's think of the myth of Pluto, right? He took Persephone away down to the underworld. He took everything. Like, Scorpio wants everything. They want true love. They want body, heart, soul, mind. They want you, you know, if they want the thing, all of it. And there's a possessive quality to Scorpio. You know, even if you've got a Scorp who's got, I know a Scorpio, I dated one who's got Uranus conjunct his Scorpio Sun. Okay, so we've got this freedom-loving energy conjunct a Scorpio sun sign. So expressed for him, he was someone who had multiple, you know, people he was seeing. But I would say he was quite directed, and he needed to be in a role where he was kind of in charge. Would be sort of the Scorpio. He had to have that self-possession. And if he knew that you were seeing other people, he wouldn't really, he'd see you, but he wouldn't open himself up at all. It was all inward inside of him. So they will give you everything, and they expect everything in return. They won't give you anything until they think they're going to get everything, kind of deal too, you know. So they expect it all. They're an extreme sign. Scorpio's biggest fear, when you have a sun sign, a zodiac sign, a personality, that is one of extremes. It's all or nothing. It's intense, and there's a focus there. They can focus that intensity and shine it like a laser on one person. Their fear is that they understand that they're deep. They understand that they're intense and that they're a lot. And their fear is that it's not going to be reciprocated, and that it's maybe not even possible for it to be reciprocated. That they will walk the earth unrequited in their love, and that they'll be solo travelers. Even in a relationship. Like, there's even that fear for Scorps, you know, that they get into a love relationship where it's a committed relationship, but they feel like their partner's never quite in the same place that they're at. This life or death, I will die for you place. So they really need a partner who is as intense as they are, in my mind, who's grounded but really intense and willing to intensely go to those places. And it takes someone, in my mind, that has some strong Scorpio or some strong 8th house or some strong Pluto on their sun or their moon or their rising. Even their Venus maybe, but I would like to see it on luminaries because it's your personality. Like, you got to be okay with some intense depth for it to work. So Virgo and Scorpio sun sign compatibility. With these two, these are very different signs. I mean, although we've got Scorpio, which is a water sign, and we've got Virgo, which is an earth sign, these are complementary elements. Their expression of their personality is quite different. So with these two, I think of two different famous sort of couples. I think of in Greece, you know, John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John, their characters. You've got kind of the bad boy, that's of course our Scorpio, and his black t-shirt, you know, the whole bit. It's perfect, right? And then you've got the Virgo-ish, the good girl, the blonde. She's kind of anxious and worried and self-conscious and humble and sweet and very kind of Virgo-y feeling. You know, and of course they fall in love with each other. He brings out her sort of naughty side, and she brings out his sweet, devoted side that wants to be committed to her, etc. So we also have the second couple I think of is Pluto and Persephone. You know, Pluto of course being Scorpio and Persephone being Virgo. So there's this quality of transformation that happens between these two. Both parties are transformed through the relating with one another. And just like the Greece characters, you know, Pluto, that Plutonian Scorpio, comes to a place where they have to operate a little bit more delicately. They have to, a lot of times Scorpio is very much, it's almost compulsive. You know, a lot of times their behavior is kind of compulsive, like they have this obsessive quality to them where they just take action, or they're just super focused on someone or something. The Virgo is a little bit more detached in a sense. They sort of take a step back and analyze the situation, or analyze. They're always analyzing or critiquing something in their mind, and trying to categorize things and trying to understand, well, they said this or they did this, what does that mean? And oh, this person is like this. And a lot of astrologers have tons of Virgo in their chart. It's a really common trait. So with that comes this desire to understand psychology, understand people. So these two are going to transform one another. The Virgo then, with that intensity and depth that the Scorpio has, the Virgo is sort of forced to stop analyzing and just kind of immerse themselves in a situation, right? So it brings out kind of their, so you know, Virgo's kind of cerebral, Scorpio's more emotional or intuitive, so they kind of teach each other about these different worlds. Now, possible long-term conflicts, of course, would be both of these. First of all, both of these signs, in general, can take a very sharp look at the world. That's the right adjective. They can take a very sort of, they like to be realistic about things. They come from different places though. Scorpios is understanding the psychology of humans, and that humans are a disaster. Good, bad, and ugly, right? They're beautiful and disasters all at the same time. And they understand this very deeply, and they understand many times the motives behind why people do the things that they do. So they sort of come from this place that can be a little pessimistic, like, you know, it can be a little like, well, okay, we know what's going to happen with this. Virgo can kind of do the same thing, but Virgo does it from this sort of outer place of observing and analyzing, and then making sort of mental notes about people and making mental notes about situations and things from the past, and then going from there. So you see, they both have this critical eye to them. Both Scorpio and Virgo have this ability to sort of understand the world around them and the humans in the world, but just from different angles. So with that can come a little bit of negative vibe, being overly critical, or being perhaps the Virgo being critical and then the Scorpio just breaking up the relationship, or, you know, that instinctive sort of gut reaction where they do something, you know. So it's a little bit Beauty and the Beast too, kind of. Beauty and the Beast is actually kind of a nice metaphor for this too. Of course, for you Scorpio women that are out there, they're with a Virgo man, that's actually a nice combo. Yeah, Scorpios are really, you know, obviously a very strong zodiac sign. If you're with a Virgo man, there's a good chance you have some other softer elements, perhaps on your moon, maybe an earthy or a water moon, or in an earth or water house, which gives it a little bit more of a receptivity and a softness, because Scorpio traditionally is ruled by Mars, so it's a traditional ruler, and that's an aggressive masculine quality. So with a Virgo man who's ruled by Mercury, which is more of a neutral, as far as the planets go, kind of a neutral expression. It's neither overly aggressive or overly submissive. It's just kind of in the middle. It's cerebral. It's about thinking and analyzing, weighing things. So the Virgo to that Scorpio, they give each other this nice complementary balance. But the Virgo's over analyzing of things and not jumping into things could make the Scorpio feel a little agitated and frustrated at times. And I mean, I personally like these two. I need to come up with some characters like I did for these, but for all of the signs, because that would be fun. But anyway, So with you two, let me know how your Virgo Scorpio relationship is, how your compatibility is. Remember, your sun sign is just a small part of your personality. It's your overall kind of like, do I like this person? Do I kind of get this person on a pretty general level? You meet somebody, some people, and you're like, I don't get you, I don't like you. Even before you really know them very well, but you just kind of, their overall way of being just doesn't jive with the way your way of being is. Okay, so that's sun sign compatibility, is that your little way of being, you get each other. So ramble and rant. Let me know how your relationship is and have a good one. Okay, bye.